Greetings everyone, Slizzle466 here, and in today's video I want to share some of the best off-meta decks to play with in Wild. We start off with a Clown Druid by Zeddy that he took to Legend. So Clown Druid, essentially how it works is you want to corrupt the Carnival Clown. You can do that with your Coon, Survival of the Fittest, or Ultimate Infestations. You then play a couple rounds of Clowns against your opponent, and then if your opponent managed to clear, well then you can get more rounds of Clowns through Yashaj the Defiler, and then if those additional 2 rounds of Clowns don't work, well you've got Yogg-Saron, Master of Fate, to hopefully seal the deal. We have a Reno Hunter list by 27E18. This is a secret-based Reno Hunter list, which is typically the style we're used to seeing. You'll notice that there is a Sir Finley Murgleton Grizzled Wizard combo in there, so that's a tech against Reno Priest. There's also a Dread Scale in here, which is a card you don't often see in Hunter list. As you can see, I don't own one, but maybe I should recraft it to give this deck a full test. And it tops out with Dino Tamer Bran and Zul'jin as your finishes. Looking at Mage, there are 3 really interesting Mage lists, and they all came out of the Chinese server, all at High Legend. The first one is APM Mage. Now, how this deck works is, if you think back to playing Quest Mage, a lot of the time you don't have to complete the quest, you just play Flamewakers, Sorcerer's Apprentice, and kill your opponent. This is basically that, but the acceleration ramped up. So you'll notice that you've got the Incantus Flow to discount the spells in your deck. You've got a lot more draw than usual, so you'll see you've got the research projects here, you've got your Arcane Intellects, you've got your Stargazer Luna, you've even got Cram Sessions just to draw a single card, and basically once you have a lot of stuff discounted in hand, most of the time all these spells are going to cost 0 or 1, especially if you have Sorcerer's Apprentices on board, and then you just kill your opponent with Flamewaker pings, or just RNG generated from, say, Evocation, Primordial Glyphs, Magic Tricks, things like that. Reno Quest Mage, I do call this off-meta because it has really fallen off the radar, but this version of Quest Mage, it's basically Quest Mage but with Highlander cards, so it's running most of the stuff that Quest Mage does. It has a Cold Light Oracle in here, which I kind of like just as a nice tool to not just draw but also mill your opponent. This is also especially more useful than a research project because you are running the Book of Spectres in here, so Cold Light Oracle makes more sense. As you can see, it doesn't have much of a top end because it does rely on taking an extra turn or 2 with Vargoth, getting a giant out, getting your opponent down to 15 with Alexstrasza. So this isn't a dragon build, but the Alexstrasza helps you get potential OTKs without necessarily needing the Vargoth. There's also the Keywarden Ivory in here, which can really surprise your opponent with some just spells they weren't expecting, and it's a really nice addition to the deck. Also, I need to recraft my Reno the Relicologist because I was very desperate on Dust one day. The last mage deck to look at is Exodia Mage. So this is a very different build of Exodia Mage than I'm used to seeing. It's still doing the whole Open the Waygate, Archmage Antonitus, Sorcerer's Apprentice to get infinite fireballs. However, you've got a Khadgar in here just to help you with the Molten Reflection. If you don't have enough Sorcerer's Apprentices, maybe one of them got milled or something. You've got the Rigged Fair Game in here for draw. Cold Light Oracle again making an appearance as opposed to Research Project. Oh, the Research Project is in here as well. So very heavy on the draw. You've got your Biscuits, the Evocation in here just for some RNG, and also to help get your quest done. But just a really fun build of Exodia Mage to try out. Looking at Paladin, there are 3 Paladin decks to look at. The first one is Handbuff Paladin by Bodybuilder. This is his signature deck that he's always refining. So this is his latest build of the deck. You'll see there is a Valinor in there for some extra value. But essentially, you're just buffing your minions to ridiculous amounts and then cheesing out wins with highly buffed Leroys or Chillblade champions and stalling your opponent with Lotheb to help you get in that lethal. Murloc Paladin is a deck that is very dear to me, especially because Bluegill Warrior is losing his charge soon. But this is a updated build of Murloc Paladin that I've seen floating around. Basically, just mulligan hard for the prismatic lens and try and high roll, and it's a ton of fun. If you don't get the high roll lens, tip the scales, it's okay. You've still got your aggressive Murloc Paladin thing, and you can seal out the game that way as well. The last Paladin deck to look at is Holy Wrath Paladin. So, Holy Wrath Paladin, how this one works is you want to hard mull for your High Priest the Culls, so you can get the high roll Molten Giants out. You can also try and go for the Nozdormu the Timeless to bump up to 10 mana, and then basically it's just all kind of about stalling and thinning out your deck. And then you've got the Holy Wrath here, which after you play the Polkelt, you can then Holy Wrath for 25 with your Shirvala. So you do have a kind of a turn 10 combo, but if you want to do a little earlier in the game, you could just say play Polkelt on 5. If you haven't played the Molten Giants yet, or you haven't drawn them, you can also slam them out with your Holy Wraths. Looking at Rogue, just one deck to look at. We've got a Tempo Rogue here. So this is very similar to what we're seeing in Standard. So it's basically the same thing. It's just that you've got your Buccaneer, Patches the Pirate. We've got a little bit more aggression in Wild compared to in Standard, but it's essentially the same sort of thing. Looking at Shaman, we have a deck that may not exist for much longer, Odd Shaman. I say that because the spell totem is being changed to a different style of totem, which is not based around spell damage, so being able to take advantage of the burst with your spells and things won't be possible anymore. Maybe Odd Shaman does somehow come back. We'll have to see what happens, but if you want to play some Odd Shaman while you can, this would be one of the best ways to do so. We've also got a Reno Shaman list here. Now this is, be warned, it is a heavily teched list. So you'll see there are Glacial Shards here for the Kingsbane Rogues. You've got Gluttonous Ooze for the Kingsbane Rogues, Plague of Murlocs for the Big Priests, Eater of Secrets for the Mages, Cobalt Sticky Finger again for the Kingsbanes. But once you get going, the big problem with Reno Shaman is it loses to aggro pretty hard. But once you kind of get to that mid game and you can start assembling your Shudderwock combo, it's a very fun and rewarding deck to play. To finish up, we've got a few warrior decks to look at. We've got Galakrond Warrior. Again, I'm saying this is off meta because it has fallen off most of the tier lists. But at heart, this is Pirate Warrior. It's got the Pirate Warrior early game plan, but then it transitions into more of a Bomb Warrior sort of gameplay to disable the Reno decks. And then as you're buffing through your invoking your Galakrons, you then can play your Galakrond the Unbreakable. You've got ridiculous minions for your opponent to deal with, and you can seal out the wins in that fashion. We have ETC Warrior. So this is a bit of a tricky deck to play, but essentially you have a combo where you take advantage of ETC, dealing 2 damage to enemy heroes after a friendly rush minion attacks. You basically use combinations with Bloodsworn Mercenary, your Guardian Og Merchant, and then once you've got multiple ETCs on board, you can play your Broomstick, pile a whole bunch of damage in, and OTK your opponent. Also, there's a Rattlegore in here for some reason, and I love me some Rattlegore. And to finish up, we have a Reno Warrior by NHL New Jersey fan. He took this deck to very high legend, and he swears by it being a legit deck. So this is definitely something I'm going to be testing out as well. As with all Reno lists, they are teched to the meta that the pilot is facing. So in this case, you see that there is the Sir Finley Murgleton Grizzled Wizard combo for the Reno Priests. You've got the Coldlet Oracle Bran here, again, just to be able to mill. Again, it's also really nice against Reno Priests. You've got your Lord Barov here, which is a great board clear, and you can typically board clear this with a variety of different cards in your deck. And then it tops out with quite an impressive top end. I mean, you'll see there's a Kobold Sticky Finger here again for the Kingsbane Rogues, but the top end is something to not scoff at. You've got Dr. Boom Mad Genius, which makes sense because a lot of the time with these slow warrior decks, they don't have an end game, so Dr. Boom Mad Genius helps do that. The Silas Darkmoon, hey, I pronounced it properly. The Silas to be able to really cause problems for a big priest or maybe a high-cost demon warlock, whether it's Cube or Reno. Deathwing Mad Aspect, just a nice board clear. Rattlegore, because it's Rattlegore, why not? And there's not that much silence being currently run in the meta. And then N'Zoth to bring back all those juicy death rattles. So here are 14 decks for you to try out for your climb to legend or climb at legend. You'll find all the deck codes in the description below. And if you're a mobile user and you're having trouble accessing those deck codes, there's a link to my Discord. You can visit the deck lists only channel and you'll have an easier time copying those deck codes. If you'd like to support this channel, you can click the subscribe button, click the notification bell, and until next time, hope to see you again.